Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 19, The Turning Point. Hey Aaron.
Hey, how's it going, Tyson?
Doing well. I'm one of your MCs, Tyson, and Aaron is the other MC for tonight's show.
Hey.
Awesome. So right away, I want to get the audience involved. And one question I want to ask everybody is, where are you guys from? And I'm going to give you guys a few moments to type in the chat, and we're going to bring it right here on the screen so we can welcome you and say hi.
I'm excited for tonight. This is one of my favorite parts. I love seeing where everyone's from, where everyone's joining from. It also makes me feel connected that everyone in the world is sort of going through the same thing. So, yeah.
It's especially during quarantine, like me and you and Doug actually all live in Ontario, and I'm sure a few people in the chat actually still live in Ontario. And it's quite difficult trying to be in lockdown and not seeing people. So it's nice to see. So we got Roxanne from Montreal.
Woo!
Awesome.
Bonjour, comment ça va?
We got Bakersfield, California. We got Jen from Ray, New York.
Raleigh, North Carolina.
North Carolina, sorry.
It's all good because I've been there.
Newmarket, Ontario.
Hey,
Awesome.
Welcome.
Grimsby.
Brisbane, Australia. Awesome. Welcome. Ça va. My French is very bad, but I love practicing it when I can.
Hello, Andy. Awesome. So for the new people that are here at the show, this is a Q&A show. And how you might interact on this show is you can either drop a comment into the comment section, and I will bring it up on the screen for Doug to answer when it comes to that time. A second way how you might interact is when the time comes to ask questions, I'm going to drop a link into the chat box, and you're going to be able to click on it, and there's two things you can do with that. If you want to ask an anonymous question, here's your chance then to ask an anonymous question to Aaron backstage. If you want to come on the hot seat and come on camera, which we're encouraging everyone to do, this is a safe place.
Yeah.
You can come up and you can talk to Doug one-on-one, which I highly encourage. He's not scary. He's an amazing man, and he's going to make a turning point for you. Right?
Love it. I love it. It's worth it. The hot seat sounds scary, but it's not. You want to solve your problems and you want to get some advice, good advice right now, right place, take the next step and come on.
And also, every show, Doug will explain this a little bit later, but every show there's a little contest, and I would take a few moments just for everyone to go and press that share button using the hashtag AskDougDane. You never know who you might share this to, and if maybe that's the day that they're in a little bit of a rut and they see the show and they get the help that they need, causing a turning point. So you never know who that might turn out, and also you get opt into a draw that you might win. Well, Doug will explain a little bit. So let me introduce who Doug is. Why don't we?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. Awesome. So I want to introduce you to Doug Dane. Doug's life started with abuse and has turned into an abundance. And now he's on a mission to show others on how they can do the same. We've created this show to reach a lot of people and help them get unstuck fast. Doug discovered that the turning point can happen very fast for you, and it's actually quite simple. Doug spent years trying to figure out how to get ahead, and it was really hard, and it took him a long time. It doesn't have to be that way for you tonight. There's a better way, right, Aaron? Tonight could be the turning point for you.
It could be, or as Jackie says, as a sunny Friday afternoon greetings, could be the turning point for her. I'm on Friday.
Okay, let's bring on Doug Dane. Hey, Doug.
You guys are so cute.
Aren't we? No.
I think the beginning of the show might be the best part of the show. You guys are just so awesome. I love it. Hello, everybody. Good to see the two of you tonight. Thanks for being on here. You know, tonight, listen, there's a single mental move that you can make to get you unstuck fast and keep you from getting stuck again. So that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. Tyson and I were talking about sharing the show. So we really encourage you to share it and use the hashtag AskDougDane. As Tyson said, you just never know who could use this show. So we ask you to share it all the time. We have a little contest every week. The people that share the show and tag with that hashtag, so hashtag AskDougDane, it's on the screen there. If you post that, share that, and hit the share button right now and do it, and just type that in. Then what I do is every week, the night of the show, I just go on Facebook and I take a look at who shared it, and I run a little contest, put some names in a digital hat, a virtual hat, and pull up their name and pick people. And so last week it was Tara Donovan. I don't know if Tara's watching tonight or if you're watching the replay, but thank you for sharing it last week. Thanks for everybody sharing it. And the shares are getting out there. And we're hearing from people thanking us for getting the show shared with them, which is fantastic. That's the point. And reaching others that maybe aren't on the show or don't know anything about the show. So Tara, thanks for sharing last week and doing the hashtag AskDougDane. And so every week I give away a free breakthrough session. I'll sit down with you one-on-one and talk to you about your goals and where you are and where you want to go and what's getting in your way, and help you. So if you're watching, or if you're watching the replay, then just reach out to me and we'll get connected and get on a call. So Al says, AJ says, I need to get unstuck. Don't we all, AJ? Huh? Don't we all? Well, listen, I know you want to become the best version of yourself, and I know that you want to become a winner in your life. The problem is you're stuck in one or more areas of life, and it keeps you stuck. And I know it's frustrating. It causes you to worry. I know how you feel because I was stuck for a very long time in a lot of ways. I didn't know why, and I certainly didn't know how to get unstuck. And so tonight I want to share with you 6 rules to get unstuck and stay that way. So again, if you know somebody that's stuck, think of somebody right now. Who do you know that is stuck? And share the show with them. Hit the share button, and just share it to your social media or share it with them. And again, just use the hashtag AskDougDane. All right, so I'm going to give you 6 things I think that most people, 6 mistakes people are making. Flip that into 6 rules that you could follow, and it'll get you unstuck. It'll keep you from getting stuck. And I don't get stuck very often. What I realized is that it's our thinking that gets us stuck. It's our reactions to things that are going on around us, in our work, in our relationships, in our families, and in whatever situation, wherever you're spending your time and in your day. So it's our thinking, it's the way we react to things, which triggers our emotions, cause us to get stuck. And generally, what I've learned is you get stuck in one area, and you feel like you're stuck in every area. So one thing can feel like everything. And so there's a few things that you probably need to do. Now, I spent the better part of my life stuck in some way, shape, or form. It started at a very, very young age for me. When I was little, I was really struggling in a violent, abusive family. And so for me, like many of you, statistically anyway, I had to really kind of bob and weave. Like I had to be constantly on guard and in defense mode, and in a very protective mode. And I very early on, I became very uncertain of what to do. So when we're little, we're gifted with intuition. Much like animals in the animal kingdom, they're gifted with instincts. They know exactly what to do. The lion doesn't thrash in the reeds, preying on the antelope, but the cat waits patiently for the mouse. Animals operate on instinct. Well, we've been gifted with intuition, but very early on, we stopped using it. Or in my case, there was so much going on outside that I had no control over when I was little, that I really was, second guessing a lot. Should I do this? Should I go here? Where should I hide? Where should I run? Should I run away? Should I go home? Should I stay? Should I go? What are they going to do? What are they not going to do? What should I do as I'm witnessing situations? So at a very early age, I developed the skill of second guessing myself. And that then, I guess, converted into lots of fear and doubt. And I didn't realize at the time, of course, when I was young, but looking back now and really understanding this and really understanding psychology, self-image, the mind, the brain, I realized that I talked myself into the idea that there was something wrong with me, because all of this stuff that I was going through and that I was experiencing and witnessing, and all the stuff that was going on inside and how I was thinking and feeling caused me to feel like physically really off. Anxiety, depression, thoughts of suicide, health issues, all kinds of stuff. It presented or manifested in my physical body in lots of different ways. And so I think a lot of people have grown up with a lot of uncertainty. You can come from the best family in the world and you still grow up with a lot of uncertainty. And I'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to the rules. And I'll give you a few tips at the end of the show of things I think that you can do, things that I've done. People, they always ask me, like, Doug, how do you operate the way that you operate now? And how have you been able to do so well, given, where you've come from and the things that you've done, even as recently as, experiences 10 years ago, 15 years ago, not that long ago, I guess. And they always ask me, and I always have the same answer, which I'll share with you afterwards. It is the single mental move that keeps me from getting stuck. And I really want to share that with you. I was on a call with the team of people that helped me promote the show, et cetera. And one of the persons on the call said, you're really not very emotional attached to your story. And he had felt, his suggestion was that I need to be more emotional about my story. He said, you seem very disconnected from it. And I said, well, I'm not disconnected from it. I do get emotional when I think about that little boy and what happened to him, but I don't allow my emotions to rule me. And that's a mistake people make too, is they think they have to be emotionally attached to their stories. And you don't. I mean, you can be if you want to. I don't think that works very well, but I found out you don't need to be. So let me just talk about some of these things I think where people are going wrong. Number one is you have to stop thinking backwards. I want to reference this book here, Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. I've mentioned this before in the show. This book was published in 1960. This is an owner's manual on your mind, this machine that you have. You have this built-in automatic cybernetic mechanism. That's why it's called psycho-cybernetics. And it's controlled by your self-image. And you cannot go beyond the boundaries of your self-image. And so I want to reference a couple things from this book. This book was really a turning point for me. And so certainly you could get the book and read the book. I've read the book. You can see it's pretty old, right? It really wasn't until a couple of years ago where I really figured it out. And so like I say to everybody, listen, there's a slow way to go. You can read these books and study them, try to figure the stuff out, or there's a fast way to go, and you can ask me. Or somebody like me that has been able to, get through this and pass by this and understand this and explain it in a way that you can understand it, you can actually act on it. That's kind of what the show is all about too, is to try to give you some real advice that works fast. Anyway, so he one of the chapters in the book is it's called chapter 5. It's called letting your success mechanism work. And he opens the chapter and he's talking about, he's quoting William James. He's actually quoting Jesus as well. But he's quoting William James, who was a dean of American psychologists. And he explained that we have what's called a forebrain, which gives us the ability to think. He said, our trouble is that we ignore the automatic creative mechanism and we try to do everything and solve all of our problems by conscious thought or forebrain thinking. So that's one mistake people make, is that they think backwards. They've got a problem and like the problem's already happened. Like there's been something's happened, there's been a mistake made or whatever, and you get stuck. And so then what you try to do is you try to use your conscious thought to think your way out of it. And so that's just improper use of the machine. You're focusing on your forebrain thinking or using conscious thought. He said, once a decision is reached and execution, this is William James, once the decision is reached and execution is the order of the day, Dismiss absolutely all responsibility and care about the outcome. So I say stop looking backwards, stop thinking backwards, is once you've made a decision, you're moving forward, well, then take no conscious thought to the outcome because you've already made the decision. You're already moving. So the analogy, the metaphor I always use is that your mind is a built-in mental GPS, and just think of this whenever you're thinking about thinking properly. And what he explains in the book is that just when you're driving, you're not thinking backwards. You're just driving. You're going forwards. You're not really worried about the destination, but you know where you're going, and you're not really too concerned about how you're going to get there. You just drive. And with today's modern GPSs, you just follow the GPS. You're not really too concerned. You don't have a whole lot of conscious thinking. You're just driving. I mean, man, you can drive with your knee. You can, take a drink. You can have a hamburger going. I mean, you could literally drive almost hands-free. I mean, not knee-free, but hands-free, And so you got to stop thinking backwards. And he gives an example of a client. One of the points in the book is don't worry after you place your bet. And so one of his clients went to Vegas and had a big aha. He was relating to William James quotation, and he was in Las Vegas and he made a bet. He was betting at the crap tables. He came back to Malls. He said, geez, I really learned something. I was in Las Vegas this weekend and I realized that why the hell would I worry after I've placed the bet? I can't do anything. The chips are down. I've made my bet. There's nothing I can do. I can't control the outcome or be attached to the outcome. And that was a real big aha for him. And it was a big aha for me. I just love that metaphor. Don't worry after you've already placed your bet. Number 2, keep your eyes on the road. That's it. Keep your eyes on the road, and that's it. And what I mean by that is when you're driving, you're just driving. You're passing things, and things are passing you. Cars are passing you. The landscape is passing you. Billboards are passing you. Clouds are passing you. You just drive, and things just pass by, and you're not worried about what's passing by. You're not looking backwards thinking about what's passing by. You're just heading towards where you're heading, and you just drive, and that's it. Now you might have a bunch of things going on in your mind, what you got to do when you get home and stuff like that, but generally you'll notice you don't really have to do much thinking to drive. You ever been driving down the road and all of a sudden you catch yourself a kilometer, a mile later, and you've missed your exit. You missed your turn. And then if you really catch yourself thinking, you can catch why you missed the turn, because you were going this way. It might have been a habitual way that you take home or whatever. But what we do is we just drive. And so the idea is just stay in the moment. Okay. And he said, just focus on the present moment, reacting and responding to the present moment. And so that's what you do. When you're driving, you're just reacting and responding to the present moment. If I was driving in your car and I started yapping away, oh my God, I wonder what's going to happen, 300 miles down the road. I wonder what's going to happen when we get close to, you'd say, just relax, Doug. We're not even near New York City. Just relax. And you go, what about that, that turn that, the lane was closed, back 4 miles ago. Like, you say, Doug, what the hell are you worried about? It's like, don't worry about that. You wouldn't let me worry about the past, and you wouldn't let me worry about the future. That's proper use of your mental GPS. And so you've got this built-in GPS of your own, and so make sure that you're using it properly. Number 3, don't analyze your mistakes. Okay? Don't analyze. Don't ruminate on them. Again, don't use too much conscious thought to something that is already done and you cannot change. Now, when we get to a couple points later here, people do love to remind you of your mistakes. All right. And so you learn to do that because people learn to do it from others. And so they got you to pay attention to your mistakes. Relationships, I mean, people in relationships, working relationships, married relationships, They do that all the time. 7 years ago when you said that, and it's no wonder relationships get stuck and people in marriages get stuck because they live in the past. And then, when the past is thrown back in your face, especially if you've made the mistake, well, then you spend a lot of time thinking about it. And that's just you reacting to what other people are thinking. All right. So do not analyze your mistakes. If you're going to make, if you make a mistake, it's okay to take a minute, just kind of pause and go, okay, what did I learn? Now, in psychocybernetics, he explains in the back of chapter 2, he gives you 5 things that you want to memorize. It's in the practice exercise on how the mechanism works. So use the mechanism properly. And I love this. Number 3, don't be afraid of making mistakes or of temporary failures. All servo mechanisms, so your mind, your GPS, a guidance missile, an autopilot, these are servo mechanisms. All servo mechanisms achieve a goal by negative feedback or by going forward, making mistakes, and immediately correcting course. That's a torpedo finds the ship. It gets off target and it course corrects. So through sonar and radar, it picks up if it's moving away from the ship and it course corrects towards the ship. When I read that, all servo mechanisms achieve a goal by negative feedback, I thought, who the hell needs positive feedback? I don't need positive feedback. Why would I care about getting any validation? Now, did I care? Yes, because that's the way that we were brought up. We were brought up to care about what people think. We were brought up because we were conditioned. If we didn't do good or we didn't get the approval, then we were punished. And that was me. Like I went through some severe punishment when I was young. And so I love that. I go, so I just kept it free. I go, I don't need any positive feedback. I don't need any positive feedback. I don't need any positive feedback because my mind uses the mistakes and it course corrects. If I let it, that's the key. If I let it work, it will work automatically. Okay. So don't spend time analyzing your mistakes because all you're going to do is create guilt, regret, judgment. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons people get stuck and they stay stuck. It's almost like other people get you stuck. Things are going along. I don't know. Imagine you're jogging down the road. I live on a laneway, a country road here, and down along the road is ditches, and it's fairly mucky because there's creeks that run on both sides of the road. And so if I was, running down the road and running with my buddy, and he gave me a push or shove, and I ended up in the creek, I'd probably get stuck. And so people like to do that. They like to push us, and we get stuck. Or we make a wrong turn and we get stuck. So don't sit around thinking about your mistakes. Stop telling your story and stop telling stories if it's not a good story. So I've got a pretty incredible story. I mean, if you check out if you haven't seen my story, it was on television in the newspapers. If you Google Doug Dane and you'll find YouTube, or just go to dougdane.com and you can watch it there. And I encourage you to watch just to get some context because it's a really good story. But I used to see the story negatively. The story actually didn't really come out until 2001. I had it all blocked out, and it came out through counseling. And then I went public with it on television and newspapers and books. And I was negatively associated to the story, and so that really certainly kept me stuck. And then mistakes that I had made in my life, I was attached to those stories, and so I would tell those stories. So if you look upon your story in any negative way, shape, or form, that's going to get you stuck and keep you stuck. So I now look at my story. And so earlier, when the person was asking me, do you seem disconnected from the story? No, I'm not disconnected from the story. I just don't look at the story as negative anymore. Some pretty bad things happened to that little boy. Some pretty bad things happened to other people, but I'm still here. I'm enjoying a pretty good life. I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty healthy. I'm pretty wealthy. Like I'm doing pretty well. And so I don't really associate negatively to the story. And other stories are just when you have a situation you're in. I was talking to a guy last week. He wanted some help. He reached out to me, and we spent 30 minutes on the phone, just over 30 minutes on the phone. And within a short period of time, I knew exactly what was going on. And I followed up with him by email just to check in and see if he wanted to talk any further. It was interesting. He wrote me a long email that I didn't really listen to his story, and I made a bunch of assumptions. And because he wanted to tell the story, but I don't need to hear the story. I got enough in the first 30 minutes. I knew everything about him, everything I needed to know about him to get him where he wanted to go. I don't really need to know much about your past, but if I do, I'll ask questions. If I sense something, I'll ask you a couple questions that'll draw out some information that is useful for me to help you. So, but people make that mistake. Well, Doug, you didn't really listen to my story. I go, well, if you want to tell your story, you can do that. I'll listen, but it's not going to help you. It's not going to help me help you. So why bother? So what we tend to do is, he really pissed me off. And then you tell a story. So it's a negative situation. It's something that's bothering you. You're stuck. And then you tell the story. I got stuck this week, and I was telling the same thing over and over and over again. But, I recognize that I am stuck. I recognize that I am telling a story, and I recognize I do have some rules I follow. But do I break my rules sometimes? Absolutely. But I keep sticking to the rules until I get really good at them. And so some rules I'm really good. Some I still slip on. But I don't get stuck very often. If I do get stuck, I don't stay stuck for really all that long. Where before I used to get stuck for years. Stop procrastinating. Okay, procrastination is a huge problem for most people, but just recognize that you learned to do that. So it doesn't mean that you're not a good decision maker. You're a great decision maker. You may not be making decisions, but you're a great decision maker. You have all the mental tools at your disposal to make great decisions that will result in great results. All right? So you're a great decision maker, but you're procrastinating because you were taught to put things off. So just, cut yourself some slack, let yourself, okay. And that helped me okay, all right, I learned to do this. I always remind myself, I learned to do this. I was programmed to do this. I was brought up to do this. I was conditioned to do this. And so that cuts me a bit of slack. Now I don't stay stuck, but I recognize why I got stuck. So when I learned that I was procrastinating too much and why I was procrastinating, I cut myself some slack. And guess what? When I cut myself some slack, I started making decisions. So we're going to talk about making decisions. And the primary cause of procrastination is usually one of two things or both. Either you lack self-confidence, or it's an inferiority complex. You have a low self-esteem. You're probably confident in many areas of your life, but you might not be confident in this particular area where the decision relates to. And so you're hung up on that, or you don't know how to do it. And so therefore you think you can't do it because you don't know how. Or you're analytical in your left brain and you use your forebrain, too much conscious thought to think of how to do it. And your mind doesn't work that way. You won't figure out how to do it if that's the way that you operate. And so then you get stuck and you put it off. So that's the source of procrastination: low self-esteem or low self-confidence, or you're too locked into how it's going to happen and you don't know how, so then you put it off. Okay, so stop procrastinating. And number 6, get as far away as you can from judgment. Get as far away as you can from judgment. And so that was the single mental move that I made. People, when they call me up, they ask me, Doug, how you doing? And obviously we don't get to see people a lot. So I had a conversation with people I haven't talked to in a while. I was talking to somebody I hadn't talked to in a couple of years. How you doing, Doug? So, I'm the best I've ever been in my life. Why is that? Well, because I'm the farthest away from judgment than I've ever been in my life. I'm the farthest away from worrying of what people are thinking or what they're going to do. And I just keep moving farther and farther and farther and farther away from that. And the farther away I move from it, the better I feel, the less I get stuck, and life is just easier, and it's more relaxed, and it's more peaceful. So you got to get yourself to a point where you truly understand why you think about you the way that you do, and why you feel about yourself the way that you do. So the fundamental problem, I harp on it every call I do, every show I do here, the fundamental problem is judgment, and you have this mistaken identity, right? You were brought up to believe things that aren't true. You were told to follow rules, values, and beliefs that didn't really line up with you, and you got judged if you didn't. That's the bottom line. You have a mistaken identity. You're stuck in an emotional prison, and you can't break free because you're locked into that mistaken identity, and you have a huge fear of what other people are going to think. And if you could just get your mind around and really understand this mistaken identity and accept that that's true, that's the starting point. And then you start moving away from judgment, and you'll be free. So 6 rules that I follow to get unstuck and stay unstuck. Number 1, make one decision to start moving. All right. So if you're stuck, just what's one thing you can do to get moving? What's one step you can take? If you take a step, guess what? You're unstuck. Just one simple little thing you can do to get moving, and you're unstuck. Okay. And so affirm, go, I am very decisive. Start affirming. I'm very decisive. I'm very decisive. I'm very decisive. I make decisions very quickly. Right? And just start affirming that over and over and over again. Refuse to look backwards. There's nothing back there you need to go forward. So stop looking backwards. There's nothing you need back there to go forward. Let everything pass by you, and let everything pass through you. I am forgiven for my mistakes, and they've helped me to get here. That'd be a good thing to affirm. I am forgiven for my mistakes, and they've helped me to get where I am right now. They've helped me to get here. Okay, here's the place, and now you're going there, and then there will become here. So let everything pass by you and pass through you. And what that means is don't hold on to anything. Just keep driving. Let everything pass through you. Let your emotions pass through you. Right? Don't hold on to emotions, negative or positive. Don't worry about whole people go, well, what about memories? Well, we're talking about memory. I'm not talking about feelings. Don't hold on to feelings. Hold on to memories. You can have pictures in your mind that you can recall and bring up. Remember when we were at da-da-da? You can do that. But don't hold on to emotions. That gets you stuck. All right? Stop telling stories that are negative. I talked about that. Live your life. Number 5, that's number 4. Stop telling stories that are negative. Number 5, live your life in 24-hour blocks. Live your life in 1-hour blocks if that's what you need to do. Right? Just make up a rule. I live my life in 24-hour blocks. I do not look backwards, and I do not worry about the future. So I have an affirmation. I do not look backwards on my past with any guilt or regret, and I do not worry about my future. And I catch myself. Nope, I live in 24-hour blocks. I live in 24-hour blocks, because he explains that in this book. That's how the mind works. Well, that's how the machine works. Why the hell would I operate the wrong way? Live your life in 24-hour blocks. And lastly, this is the magic. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Just treat others the way you want to be treated. It's an age-old rule and law, and if you follow it, I'll guarantee you'll be set free. And so just treat other people the way you want to be treated, and get rid of judgment. And so just stop judging people. If you want to stop judging yourself, it starts by not judging others. Just practice not judging people, form that habit, and you'll have a hard time judging yourself. All right, Tyson, let's take some questions.
Yeah, great rules, Doug. It's Q&A time now.
Okay.
So you guys can post your questions into the chat, and I am dropping a link right now where you can come anonymously backstage, where you can talk to Aaron if you want to ask your question anonymously, or you can come on the show live. So
yeah, come on the show live. Come on. Yeah. Listen, it's fun. You'll be famous, whatever that means, Facebook land. Oh, I meant to throw in one more rule I didn't put in the rules, Tyson.
Okay.
I post this rule on social media. If you're on social media and you're not feeling good about yourself, get the hell off social media. Social media is not a great place to be when you're stuck. Okay.
Good rule.
It's a really good rule. All
Really
right.
good.
What's our first question?
Yeah, so we're going to take some questions that were submitted earlier today, starting with Daniela. I started a business a couple months back. When is a good time to start getting out there?
Well, just take a look at the question. What is she doing? Or he, Danielle, I guess it's Daniela. What is she doing, Tyson?
What is she doing? She's not making a decision, right?
Yeah. She's breaking one of the rules. She's procrastinating.
Hmm.
Right? Started a business a couple months back. When is a good time to start getting out there? A good time to start getting out there was yesterday, a minute ago. Right? If you're watching right now, start getting out there.
Mm-hmm.
People in sales, I'm going to probably presume this person's in sales. This is a big problem for salespeople. I'm going to be doing a lot more around sharing what I know about selling yourself, selling products and services, how to lead salespeople, lead sales teams, how to build your business and get yourself out there. And a lot of people don't understand why they're not getting out there. And those are the things that you really have to go after. So I would just get your pen out. Danielle, I'd ask yourself a different question. What are the things that are stopping me from getting out there? Make a list of them. I'm going to give you guys a couple tips at the end of the show here of what you can do to get moving from this show. But yeah, I mean, she's obviously procrastinating. Maybe she's, has call reluctance, fear of rejection. Maybe she doesn't know what to say. She might be worried what people are going to think. She's worried that she's going to get an objection. She'd have definitely those 5 things I mentioned. Those probably would be on your list, Danielle. So write out the things, what's stopping me from getting out there. And all you got to do is, usually if you just ask yourself that question and you see the answers, that is enough to get you unstuck. And so I would do that.
Awesome. So we're going to go over to Lauren, another question submitted. Hi, Doug. There's so much I want to do, so much I want to do and have. I have so many ideas. I have no idea what to do myself. I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know where to start.
Yeah. So Lauren is somebody that I know, and she was sending me some messages. I said, send your message in, and I'll answer your message on the show. And I liked her question. I'm sure Lauren doesn't like her question because she's stuck. But it's a good question because I think a lot of people have this problem. There's so much I want to be, do, and have. I got loads of ideas. I really have no idea what to do. What goal should I pick? And I'm so overwhelmed and I don't know where to start. And fundamentally, I think what happens to people is, number one, they don't really understand what goals actually are. So I like using the metaphor, analogy of taking a trip. So Laura's sitting at home and she's going, man, there's so many places and she wants to travel. I know she wants to travel. There's so many places I want to go. I want to go to Spain. I want to go to Egypt. I want to go to Paris. I want to go and she's got all these places she wants to go. And I would say, well, pick one. And she would pick one. You know why she picked one? Because she's traveled before and she knows how to travel. So she would have no difficulties, picking, say she's going to go to Australia or she's going to go to Italy. She'd have no problem picking a destination, booking the flights, booking the hotel, getting an itinerary, finding local, attractions, etc. She'd have no problem with it at all because she knows how. And so that's what I said, the source of procrastination, okay, or indecision, what causes indecision, is either lack of self-confidence or an inferiority complex. So you got to look, okay, do I lack confidence in what it is I want to do? Probably if you've never done it before, who wouldn't? I mean, we all lack confidence in something we've never done before. But see, when we lack confidence, then we think there's something wrong because we get this feeling, we're nervous, we're anxious, and am I going to do a good job? Am I going to screw it up? Whatever crap's running through your mind. And so Lauren has formed the habit of running this crap through her mind over and over and over. And so if she was choosing where she was going to travel, she'd have no problem. But when you're going to choose something you've never done before and you don't know how, it's very easy to get overwhelmed where you don't do anything. You just you just get stuck, and then you get frustrated, you get overwhelmed, you get anxious. Maybe things, I don't know, maybe you worry about what's going to go wrong. Are you going to lose some money? What if I quit my job and this doesn't work, or whatever it is? You run all this stuff around in the future, so you worry about the future. And then again, the other cause of indecision or procrastination is overthinking. And like you said in the book, don't use your forebrain. Rely on the creative mechanism. So if you really understood how the creative mechanism works, it's not difficult. I can explain to you pretty simply. Is you would begin to rely on it. I was talking to a client earlier, one of my private coaching clients, and he's working on it. He's got a goal. And I said, listen, here's what I want you to do. 5 things I want you to do every single day. And I want you to text me every single day that you did it. And one of the things was to write out his goal in the present tense, and then go there. Go sit there with the goal and hang out as if you're there. So he has one of the goals we're working on. It's a 90-day goal. Within 90 days, he wants to be at this goal. I said, all right, it's July 15th. Go there right now. You've hit the goal. It's July 15th. What's going on? How are you feeling? That's where you want to go. You go there in your imagination. If you go there in your imagination and you can kind of get the feeling that you're there, like you start, oh, this is really cool. Like you get some emotion attached to it. Well, then your creative imagination will come up with ideas. But your forebrain, the conscious thinking, the overthinking gets you stuck. And so just pick where you're going, Lauren, but pick somewhere. You got to pick somewhere. You got to pick one thing. You can only work on one goal at a time. Pick one thing and go there. And then prove to yourself that you can get there with the power of your mind and what we teach. And then you'll build up your belief. I'm reading a book, actually. I thought this is a good point. This is a great book here. What God Said. Neil Donald Walsh, Conversation with God, author. 25 core messages of what God said. And in chapter 10, he's got these 25 messages. Chapter 10, where is it here? Let's see if I can get there. Oops, I went right by it. Sorry, hang on. This is really good. If I can find it. Yeah, core message number 21. There are 3 levels of awareness: hope, faith, and knowing. So hope is wishing for something. Faith is believing something, and knowing is knowing. So you gotta get away from the hope stage. And first stage, you gotta go from hope to faith. And you gotta develop a belief. And then you take action, you get a reaction, which builds up your belief, and then you get to the knowing. Like, I know how this works. I know how it works because I've studied it and I've applied it. And that's where you got to move to. You got to get to the knowing stage. And the only way to get to the knowing stage is make a freaking decision, pray, move your feet, and then just course correct as you go.
Amazing. That's something my grandpa actually used to tell me all the time, is that saying. Yeah. It's really cool that you said it. I forgot about it.
That's cool.
So we're going to take a few one question from the chat that was submitted from AJ.
Okay.
I notice I'm on the fence of buying a house, but I don't want to leave the place I'm at because of my landlord/boss. I would feel guilty for leaving.
Well, 2 things I say. Why the hell would you feel guilty? You don't owe your landlord boss anything. Chances are your boss wouldn't care if you were leaving. And frankly, if your boss was going to make you feel guilty for leaving, then he's not a great boss. That would not be considered a good leader. A good leader is a servant leader that helps others get to where they want to go. So I would kind of be checking yourself on that one. And I would just, what I would do, AJ, you said, obviously you want to buy a house. Otherwise you wouldn't be on the fence. I mean, why would you get on the fence if you weren't thinking about what you want to do. But when you're on the fence, guess what? You get stuck on the fence, and you got the fence that's stuck up your. So you obviously want to buy the house. Why don't you just make a decision you're going to buy the house, and don't worry about how your boss is going to react or whether you're going to feel guilty for leaving? Because chances are you're not. Chances are you're too focused on worrying about what might happen, what may happen, that probably never will happen. And what you're doing is you are focusing on other people and not what you want. People have a real misunderstanding around selfishness. Oscar Wilde's got a great quote about that. Selfishness is not asking people to live, or I forget how he says it, but basically, I was going to try to quote it, but basically, people are tell you how you should live. That's selfish. There's nothing wrong with living the way you want to live. That's not selfish. Telling people how they should live, that's selfish. And so I guess the question is, what do you really want? Do you really want your own house and stop paying rent? If that's what you want, that's the only prerequisite to this, AJ. You just have to really want it. That's your only prerequisite. If you want it, then just decide you're doing it. Nothing happens until you make the decision. Make the decision, you're doing it, and then just watch what happens. You'll be amazed. God and the universe, everything will just get behind you and line it all up for you. Now, here's the funny part. AJ may not understand this. The fact is, AJ, if you want to buy a house, that's already happened. Now you might go, what the hell is he talking about? Well, creation is already finished. Okay. Everything is already laid out. You're just moving into it. And your desire is the cue as to where the path leads for you. So I hate to break it to you, pal, but you're buying a house. So you may as well stop putting it off.
That's awesome. You'll have to join the Facebook group so he can post about it when he does.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Good one, Tyson.
So next question that was submitted will have to come from Jackie.
Okay.
Realizing weight and self-image is where I'm stuck in life. What are you suggesting to help with this? And she has a follow-up. Should we?
Let me do this one first. So releasing weight and self-image is where I'm stuck in life. What are your suggestions to help with this? Well, I kind of want to make a carte blanche statement about people that are struggling with weight. It was interesting. I was on a call the other day with a group of people, and I was talking about why most people are stuck. And I was explaining what I explained earlier, this notion of this mistaken identity and their conditioning and judgment, all that stuff. And the person brought up, releasing weight, et cetera. And I knew exactly what the person's problem was. I know why they were stuck, but I just waited for them to say it. And sure enough, they said exactly what I thought. And I'm not saying that to brag, but generally I know why most people have a problem with weight. And it's right here in the question. Releasing weight and self-image is where I'm stuck in life. The reason you're having a challenge releasing weight is because of your self-image. Now, Jackie already probably knows that. What Jackie doesn't know how to do is how to change her self-image, or she doesn't understand her self-image. Okay. And again, this is a great book that explains it, but basically here's the bottom line. People often use the term fake it till you make it. Okay. You cannot lie to your subconscious mind. I don't know if I can find it in here or not. I know it's highlighted. I'll see if it comes to me. You cannot lie to your subconscious mind. So you can't trick your subconscious mind. You can only if your subconscious believes that the image you hold of yourself is not true. I gotta find that one. I think it's on chapter 6. Hang on. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh man, I should have brought this up. It's in the back of. Oh, wait a minute, it might be on here.
I found an interesting definition. Is this kind of somewhere near it?
Yeah, it's close. So basically, you cannot create a new self-image unless you can find some reason that the image you hold of yourself is not true. Okay, so the mistake people make is they try to fake it till they make it. They try to trick their subconscious, but they don't first look at what it is they believe about themselves and why they believe that about themselves. So again, I'm not talking therapy and counseling here. It's a very simple exercise to evaluate why you see yourself the way you see yourself, what image you hold of yourself, and why you hold it. And if you understand what I said earlier about mistaken identity, is that you've got a self-image that was formed and created by others, and you inherited it and adopted it. And so if you can get yourself to a point where you understand that and you agree with it, then your subconscious mind will release. It'll go, yeah, this is bullshit. Why the hell would I look at myself? That's what I did. Why the hell would I look at myself the way I'm looking at myself? It's freaking bullshit. And as soon as I registered that in my subconscious mind opened up to the new self-image. So that's really important, is you got to change the way you see yourself. Now, another reason people struggle with weight is, this is very, very common. It may not be Jackie's case, but generally what happened when you were young is you got attention that you didn't want. Okay? You got attention you didn't want. You were teased, you were bullied, you were abused, you were criticized, you were judged, your parents were hard on you, whatever. But you got attention that was negative, that you didn't like. Okay? And so then what happened is, food is often one of the manifestations of the way that we kind of deal with our pain and our hurt, and we stuff food down our throat. And many people, what they do is they lose weight, but then they gain it back. And the reason that they gain it back is because they lose the weight and they get attention. And as soon as they start getting attention, if they got negative attention when they were young, guess what happens? They put the weight back on. Like when I'm on social media, I just can't understand why people post these images. They got the camera on there and they're showing off their bodies and their core and all. Hey, look at me! I've started the diet. I don't think that's good accountability. People might be convinced that it is, but for most people that are doing that, they don't have a great self-image. And so what they're doing is they're working against themselves. So to Jackie's point, I think what you got to do is you got to realize that the image you hold of yourself is a mistake, that it's a lie, that it was inherited and adopted by you, is programmed into you. And if it doesn't feel right, that's your indication that it's a lie. That's it. If how you feel about yourself is not good, it must be a lie. Because a lie always feels lousy. The truth always feels good. If you feel good about yourself, it must be true. It's a really simple measurement method. What else, Tyson?
We got the follow-up. Also been out of work for nearly 9 months, and opportunities are coming up, but not securing the job role. How do I reframe this?
Well, when I read this question, I laughed to myself. I thought, what a great thing she's got there. She hasn't had to work for 9 months. What a great opportunity, right? She's been out of work for nearly 9 months. That's a great opportunity. I mean, she's still here. I mean, she was able to, send a message in, so she's not dead. She might not be living the way that she wants to be living, and maybe she's had to make some sacrifices. But what's the polar opposite of this statement? The polar opposite is, hey, I haven't had to work for 9 months. I'm still here, and there's opportunities that are coming my way. But you're not securing the job role. How do you reframe it? Well, why don't you just reframe it that there's opportunities that are endless and abundant. I just haven't found the one that I want yet. And when you find the one you really, really want, or you decide what you really want to do, it'll all line up. That's the knowing. People at this stage, they're still at the hope stage. I hope I find a job. That ain't gonna work. Okay.
Hey, so we had Daniela that was asking a question a little bit earlier, who submitted a question. She's on the show tonight, and she wants to ask a question, but for some reason she can't get her mic or camera going.
Yeah,
on the show.
I wish we would have came on earlier. Because we're kind of out of time. We got about 5 minutes. I want to wrap up with some next steps. So
okay. Do you want to do that first, and then we'll get to her question?
Let me wrap the show. And Danielle, you can reach out to me, and I can try to help you that way. I apologize that we can't bring you on here live. Sometimes I talk too much, and we don't get people on. So, all right, let me just. I want to give a few next steps here for people, Tyson.
Yeah.
First off, Tyson, grab that link for the Turning Point workbook. I've got a little Turning Point workbook I made. If you haven't got that yet, just grab that from the chat. You can just click on that link and you can download. That's a simple little simple steps that you can take. So grab that if you haven't got that. Tyson will drop that link in the chat. All right, so here's the next steps. You might want to get a pen out real quick. So number one, make a list of all the things you think are keeping you stuck. Make a list of all the things. Like, just what you got to do is you got to kind of isolate everything and get it out of you and onto a sheet of paper. Now, what I mean by that is when you write out the things you think are causing you to be stuck. Remember I said earlier, one of the rules is let things pass through you. So as you write out the list of things that you think are keeping you stuck, they're passing through you. They're going from your emotions, your thoughts. Your brain is sending a signal down your arm to the pen, to your hand, and your hand moves, and through the ink, the idea leaves you and goes onto the sheet of paper. Okay, now, you might think that's wacky, but that's true. All right? You may think I'm wrong, but you're wrong. What's happening is thought energy is being transferred to physical energy through ink onto a sheet of paper. So you can go, it's gone. It's out of me and it's on the sheet of paper. Now, that's a rule you got to follow. You got to do that. Okay? Number two, pick one thing from the list. So let's say you got 10 things. Just pick one from the list and write out what you're going to do about it. Just pick one. Pick the easiest one. I don't give a shit. Just pick one. Pick the easiest one. Pick the smallest one. The key here is to get it out of you and then make a freaking decision and take some action. So pick one and then write out what you're going to do about it. And now that it's out of you and you're not emotionally attached to it, be objective. Use your intellectual objectivity, because you are actually very powerful. You are strong. You are courageous. You are intelligent. Okay. You are a good person. There's all these great qualities about you. So don't get your emotions all caught up in who you're not. And that will help you muster up some courage and write out, what are you going to do about it? And then just do one thing. Just one thing. Like I said earlier, if you just take one step, okay? You take one step, now you're moving. You're no longer stuck. It's just taking a step. All right? So make a list of all the things that you think are keeping you stuck. Write it on a sheet of paper, get it out of you onto the sheet of paper. Pick one thing from the list, write out what you're going to do about it, and that'll help you muster up the courage. Okay? Write out what you're going to do about it. Do one thing to get moving, to take a step. Now you're unstuck, and just keep doing one thing. One thing. And that's living in the moment. If you have to live 1 minute at a time, if you have to live in 1 minute blocks or 10-minute blocks or 1 hour blocks or AM, afternoon, evening blocks or 24-hour blocks, just live your life in little blocks and do one thing at a time. Not looking backwards and not worrying about the future. And then lastly, make up a list of your own rules. So I gave you my rules. Make up your own rules that you're going to follow and repeat them over and over and over. So oftentimes when I'm studying here in the mornings with my coffee, I've got my journal and I've got rules in here, and I'll go back and I'll look at the rules and I'll reread them a few times. Sometimes I make up some new rules. And so make up a set of rules that you're going to follow that's going to keep you from getting stuck. Okay. So listen, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Again, please share it. Hit the share button before you go. Hashtag AskDougDane. And if you want to talk to me about how I can help you get unstuck and stay unstuck, and you'd like to work with me, go to DougDane.com. You can reach out to me there, and I'd love to talk to you because I like helping people get unstuck and make some real big moves. So if you're ready for a move, I'm ready to help you get there. So Tyson, Aaron, we're right on time. We're right on track. Thanks for being here as always.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for everyone being here. It was a great show, Doug. Great job.
All right, good. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody.